I got a comment about last week about what you were saying about apps. And one of those things was missing how it is not important. And I got something that I think will make sense. So I'm going to mention that right before we get started. I might just go see my doctor. A spot on my foot. I think that a cat or something. It kind of lived it before. And then I bought some that written about accidents and past. I gotta call him to see if I got to have it physical because see last time I went to him I did the Medicare witness plan where they get asked questions but he never gave me a clue. And then that time was in the office it was stuff that I need to get done before. So I got to far out as I need to come for a physical. I was surprised to see him when I'm back this way. I thought maybe he was like him and Roger won't be back in time. Do you thought you were gonna teach this morning? Alright.
Testing, testing. There we go. All right. Good morning. Good morning. It is 9:32. Larry, just FYI, I do have a blinking red light. I don't know if that's going to be a problem later on, but so far it's working okay. A blinking red light where it says on, low bat, it's like got a flicker to it. I see. Seems like it's okay for now, but we'll keep an eye on it. Well, happy Sunday. Good morning. How's everybody feeling?
Welcome back.
Thank you. Man Camp, yes. I will talk about that in a second, but I do want to let everybody know that I have some papers printed out. Some people like to have a handout, like to just have something to reference. So I just kind of left everything up here instead of passing everything out to everybody. If you want something, it's here. Got some visuals for you to look at and take notes. If you haven't been here before, today there is an outline of what the Working Genius is, if you'd like to reference that. But we're going to just kind of dive right into today. And we'll start with prayer requests. If anybody has a prayer request, yes, ma'am.
My daughter, Nicole,
Mm-hmm.
she had just gotten married here a week ago, and she's in the hospital
Yeah.
God is immediate help.
Yeah.
That she knows that Jesus and God knows He's right there with her, you know? She needs to hear that and feel that.
Out of my pocket. If I remember right, that's the problem. Yes. Okay. Okay. We will certainly do that. Pat.
Some of you may know because it was probably on the website or whatever. Sandy Cooper, which was Carlotta's sister. They were the two closest. Sandy had a stroke on Wednesday. Is some paralysis. She's as of Friday, she's in the hospital early. But and pray for Sue, her sister, because she just, it's so hard to try to make herself come back when she doesn't have Carlotta sitting there.
Okay. Mark.
So I have a praise. Last week, I asked you to pray for Chance, who's a very small boy that had meningitis, and he is doing much better, pretty much back to himself. And that was a really challenging situation. A little bit more of the backstory of Chance. His father was murdered before he was even born, and he is raised primarily by his grandmother and great-grandmother. So it was a heavy load on the grandmother to possibly lose another child. So definitely a praise that he's doing much better.
Excellent. Okay. Yes, sir.
Martha Burley, she's at home but having difficulty breathing.
Okay. Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, we had prayed for my dad, Jack Boston, as he was in rehab, and he did get to go home, and then unfortunately he went back to the hospital with pneumonia, but he is now home again, and my mom's taking care of him, and just, he's been in and out of the hospital since January, and so just praying for his health and for my mom as she's taking care of him, and just making some decisions moving forward about what's next.
Okay. All right. I think we have a praise that John Michael Cox is here with us this morning. Oh, fresh from Harding. And Robbie Beller. Chris Beller, sorry. I do that more times than you even realize. Christopher, yep. Good to see you guys. Yes, sir.
Pray for the family that little girl they lost in the river. They found her yesterday. Yeah. Right by McLaren Hospital.
Okay. All right. Any other prayer requests? All right. Let's talk to the Father. Heavenly Father, what we really want is to bask everything in prayer. And we start our day today with you, thanking you for just being able to get up out of bed this morning and be here, healthy, for the most part, and grateful to be amongst other Christians that can encourage us and that we can encourage, that we can share our burdens with, that we can cast our cares on and have fellowship with. We're thankful that we can come here and learn a lesson about you, about this world around us and how to navigate it. Father, I'm just grateful that we have our families, our loved ones, our friends around us. And these things are not to be taken for granted. We're so thankful to you for a beautiful start to a morning. To be able to gather together in this way is just a blessing, and we know it comes from you. Father, we're also mindful of those here amongst us that have concerns and requests and loved ones, and it's our people are sick, they're hurting, they are worried, they're being abused. There is evil in this world, and Father, we bring each of those names that have been brought before you this morning to you. We lay them at your feet, knowing that you are sovereign, that you are in control, and that you will be glorified no matter what. That you will be glorified whether we do it intentionally or you cause it to happen. Your name will be glorified because you are holy, you are good, and you have us in your hands this morning. I pray that anything that's shared today, either from myself or anyone else in the room, that we will do so with kindness and love, with temperance of speech, with wisdom, and that it will edify each other, that we can further do your work to advance the kingdom, but do it in a way that pleases you. May this be a fragrant offering that lifts up to you in heaven, and just ask that you guide each step as we go along. Just give us enough vision and wisdom and knowledge, Father, to take the next step in faith, so that we don't become too arrogant and think that we've got it all figured out and we've got it planned and we have it got it all together. Keep us ever reliant on you, because that is where true peace is. And we offer that up to you. We offer up this prayer in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen. I'm going to try to sip coffee with this microphone, but it's going to be... So, just a small caveat. I've got a lot going on this morning. I'm just coming fresh from man camp. So if I smell like campfire, that's why. We had a nice Devo this morning. Nice breakfast with a lot of bacon. So if you haven't been to man camp, here's a shameless plug for it. This was my first year going, and my oldest son, Matthew, is actually the one who invited me. He said, "Dad, you've got to come. You've got to come. It's fantastic." And it really is fantastic. Lots of men, lots of manly things, lots of hatchet throwing and firearms and campfires and bacon and steak and just basking in the Word of God and encouraging each other and building each other up to be faithful men of character and of integrity and leadership and humility, and just a fantastic weekend. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10. Would definitely recommend. I'll be going back next year with probably a couple extra people. So the attendance, that's a good question. I'm bad at estimating numbers, but...
About 60.
Who said that? Oh, she would know. Okay. Yeah, about 60. 60, I would say. Yeah, I forgot to mention trail rides and ATVs and what am I missing, Julie? Fishing, kayaking, yeah, skydiving. I forgot to mention that. That was an elective. I think you had to pay extra for that, but that's a joke. So, and then I'm moving today, and 2 of my kids are sick, and we have my wife's grandmother's 80th birthday party is here today, so you'll forgive me if I'm a little scattered, but once I get going into this, we're going to be good to go. So I want to start right off into the Working Genius this morning. So if you haven't been here before, just a 2-second explanation of what we're talking about. Most people know. This is something that I believe has always been here. We just now have the language for it. Patrick Lencioni from the Table Group is sort of the guy who put this language together and is disseminating it out right around that 2021 time frame. And so we have 6 working geniuses here that allow us to get any work done. And this is like a linear fashion from left to right. The W is for wonder, I is for invention, D for discernment, G for galvanizing, E for enablement, and T for tenacity. And we've done an overview already. And Mark's been kind enough to show us how this plays out in characters in Scripture, and also how it relates to God's nature. And today, so we talked about, last week we dove deeper into the wonder and invention phases, and today we're going to talk about discernment and galvanizing. And I do have, go ahead.
All right. So
He's got the microphone and everything. He's ready to go.
last week, Mark was talking about if we did have if one of those letters were missing, how that it would. Being that I'm in retail, we got a whole bunch of different people. We got starting from the top, we got a store director, a general merchandise manager, and then a whole bunch of team leaders. That is, like in my department, we got 2 team leaders for guest services. We got a team leader for general merchandise, a team leader for fashion style.
Okay.
And then we got people who do the picks for orders. We got people who stock.
Sounds like a lot of people.
Yeah. If we were missing one of those departments,
Yeah.
the store would be a mess.
And yeah, so because this is, and I think it was Rigel that 2 weeks ago pointed out, I don't know if we realize this, but God has all of these perfectly. And if we are missing one, you can overcome that. It is overcomable, but it has to be done intentionally. And if you're missing some of these on your team, it's a little more detrimental than others. So if you're missing, maybe you're missing a discerner on your team, or if you're a teacher and you have none of these people on your team and you have to be all of them, you can outsource, or I guess insource would be the right. Is that right? Insource? Is that a word even? I'm going to make it up. We're going to go with it. You can insource discernment. You can find a discerner to say, hey, if I bring you, we've thought about this, we think this is a good idea, what do you think? And discerners, where are my discerners at? Do you know if you are a discerner, if you have D as one of your geniuses? Anybody? You're getting pointed at. Why? You don't like to raise your hands? Discerners don't like to raise their hands? I didn't know that was a thing. Okay. You should raise your hand because we want to come and talk to you. And chances are you like it when somebody comes to you and says, I need your advice. Or what do you think about this? Or can you help me figure this out? Generally speaking, discerners appreciate that and actually really value the trust that it takes for you to come and say that. So if you come to that person and say, I know that you actually have excellent discernment, can you help me with this? That's something that's going to really speak to that person. What they are crushed by is if they say to you, I have a really bad feeling about this. If you know a discerner and they say that to you, please take that seriously, because they have the ability to see, almost like see the future. It's really hard to, and Patrick Lencioni talks about this, it's very difficult to quantify the value of the discerner because it's nonlinear, it's obscure, it's hard to trace the characteristics of it, but it is absolutely provable. Yes.
I was just going to say able to see the big picture, the forest through the trees, if you will.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So, what it is versus what it is not, we'll talk about today. And here is what it is and what it is not. Discern, where is he? Is he in here today? Discernment. It is actually, I've been in my head going, it's not discernment, Rigel, it's discernment. But no, it actually is either. So I put that up for him. I was hoping he'd be in here this morning so I could make fun of him for it. But I can't because it turns out he's right. It's either. It's discernment or discernment. I'm a discernment. What it is not industry expertise. So a lot of times we think of it as such. We think of that person maybe at work who you know that is really knowledgeable about their particular field or the field that you're trying to become more knowledgeable about. That is not what this is. And even so, we'll talk about this too in a few minutes. It is not necessarily that person that you know at church that has a lot of biblical knowledge or maybe psychological expertise. It's a little different than that. It is not an intelligence quotient. This is, it's not knowledge. It's not data analysis, although sometimes we tend to think that it is. We kind of get this a little bit confused with these things. Somebody that's really smart, or somebody that can take data and say, well, what about this, 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 and this? Okay, that's not this type of discernment. It's nonlinear, and it's not discernment. Now, what do I mean by that? When we think of church, we use terms in church differently than the rest of the world does. And this is one of those words that we use differently. There was a book that was on the bookshelf for a long time, and it was like, Crazy Things Christians Do, right? This is one of those weird things that Christians do. The one-arm Christian side hug. Anybody here do that one-arm Christian side hug? That's a thing that just Christians do. But we use this word discernment in an unusual way. We use it to mean someone that has a lot of spiritual knowledge, knows the Bible really well, knows the characters, can apply it to our lives really well. But that's not this type of discernment. This is a little bit more like intuition or pattern recognition. So these discerners can see a pattern in something in a way that's really difficult to even explain to anybody else. You know, you may present them with a problem, you may present them with a plan, you may present them with a situation, and they can see, based on previous experience, that gut feeling, that intuition that they have, they are able to see a pattern and apply it to the situation that you're bringing to them in a way that oftentimes they can't even explain themselves. They just know it. And it's a good idea to trust that gut feeling and that intuition. Good instincts and gut feelings. So, moving over here, the other thing I want to do is I want to show you. So we've been talking a little bit about the terms. So I had it drawn wrong. So I drew this in a left to right fashion, but if you look at everything on the website, it's actually like it kind of staggers, goes WIDGET, and if you draw a horizontal line, you get the responsive geniuses and the disruptive geniuses. And what we're going to talk about today is one of these is responsive and one of them is disruptive. So let me see how I can draw this here. This is a responsive, so, nope. So wonder is a responsive. That's not even any better, is it? Wonder is a responsive genius. Discernment is responsive. And enablement is responsive. So these three here are responsive geniuses. Wonder, discernment, enablement. What does that mean? What's a responsive genius? A responder is someone who does not necessarily take a lot of initiative. They may, they tend to be more reactive. They may tend to wait and sit in quiet or passivity, or they wait for you to bring the situation and then they respond to it. You might have to ask them, what are you thinking? What do you think? How do you feel about this? What's your gut feeling? What's your instincts? Whereas the responsive and what's the other? Thank you. Disruptive geniuses. This is not a bad thing. Okay, so I want you to take whatever preconceived ideas you have about what a word means and kind of throw it out of the window, because I use this I use this term on a friend of mine, and it was like, did you just call me disruptive? Well, yeah, but I didn't mean it in a bad way. I mean it as a good thing. This is a good thing. Well, really? It doesn't sound very nice. Well, I know, but forget the markers. It's not going to work. These markers are terrible. One last try. Maybe the orange. Is this a dry erase marker? Yeah. No. Okay, so the invention, galvanizing, and tenacity geniuses are disruptive in that people with these geniuses, when they're working in their genius, are disruptive in nature because they're more assertive, more aggressive. They are going to take action on their own without having to be pushed, without having to be pulled. They're out there on their own, and they are going to use these geniuses without having to be asked. So in invention, what does that look like? That looks like maybe they're at home with a blank slate and they're working on a whiteboard. For the galvanizer that we'll talk about here in just a few minutes, this one is very clearly disruptive because they want to keep people on task. And not just on task, but on the right task, right? Instead of veering off this way and veering off this way. No, come on back to center. Now, discerners also have the ability to process multiple variables. So they can think quickly on their feet, as opposed to the wanderer, people that have the wandering genius do not have quick solutions to problems. So we may have, I'm a wanderer, so I'll use we may have a solution, but usually doesn't come very quick. We have to sit, we have to listen, we have to think about it. Whereas the discerner can hear it and can very quickly process all of that information, as well as what it's going to look like in the future, what it's looked like for other people that have been through the same problem, and immediately process those terabytes of data and very quickly say, yep, or mm-mm. And it's amazing if you've ever seen it. So at work, where I work, we have a couple of discerners, and I have learned to say to them, hey, I have this idea for this or this or this, and we'll be in a meeting, and there's 15 of us in this meeting, and somebody will toss out an idea, and I'll just look over like this. Brooke is her name. I'll look over at her like this, and she'll just go. I'm like, okay, that's probably not going to work. Why? Why isn't that going to work? And then she'll talk about it. My boss, Mary Jo, is another one. One of the other nurses, Jason, is another one. And we can just kind of look at them, and they'll like shake their head, or they'll go, yeah. And that's enough. Like, if you know someone with the genius of discernment, if you give them that idea, like, I think you have this a little bit of discernment. We'll be in a meeting, and I'll look over at her, and she'll just go, okay, all right, we can keep going. Now, if you have two discerners and they both agree, you're good. Go with it. Excellent judgment. So, what it is: good intuition, the ability to see patterns, good instincts, gut feelings. It's a lot of times it's difficult to even express to someone else. In fact, if you are a discerner, you have probably had situations in life where you have tried to tell people, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. And they say to you, I don't know, you have to explain this to me. Tell me, what data did you examine to come to this conclusion? That will really frustrate a discerner. Can anybody relate to any of this? Are there anybody? Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I can relate, because when I tell somebody I have a strong intuition, and when I tell somebody I know, sometimes I can't tell you how I know, I just know.
Yeah.
Like, I can tell you, trust me, I know this, and either they're going to trust me or they're not, and as soon as they say,
what's your data? I'm so frustrated. I'm like, just do it. You'll find out.
So the beauty of this language is I want to empower people to trust that discernment that you may have not ever had the language for this your whole life. And now all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, I think I know what this is. This is discernment. There is a ton of value in that. Trust that judgment, that intuition, that gut feeling, and don't feel like you have to explain it to people. If they come to you and they say, what do you think? And you tell them and they go, I don't agree with you. Well, then why'd you ask me? Right? That's a question discerners probably say a lot. Well, then why'd you even ask me? If you don't want to know what my opinion, don't ask. So when you ask a discerner, make sure you're ready to hear, no, that's a terrible idea. Oh, okay. And invite that. Be okay with that. Yeah, Tina. You don't have to.
Shouldn't part of this, though, be the discussion? So, like, if we were saying, hey, the discerner has the end word, like, shouldn't part of it be like, hey, okay, that's what you think. Can we not discuss and see, you know what I mean?
I do. That is a question that's asked by someone that's probably not a discerner. Right.
But why should, if you're working
Yep.
with a group of people,
Yes.
say one person is the, the gavel.
Yep. Yeah, no, and it doesn't mean that it's the end of the conversation, but what we need to do as people, this is my opinion, is trust this process. Trust the team dynamic. Because if you question the discerner too much, you can really wound them. Because this is their God-given talent. They are really good at this. And oftentimes it's difficult for them to explain why. It's difficult for them to explain how they got there. So we, as non-discerners, really need to trust that. The same that we trust the ideation and the enablement and the tenacity, and give it that same value, recognizing that it is foreign to us, and so trust it. Yeah, there can be discussion, and you can ask them, you can say, okay, can you explain to me how you got there? And then give them that chance to. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. Any other discerners in the room that are willing to, it's okay if you're not. I know as your hand was going up, I phrased that question, but explain how this feels to you. How does it feel to you when someone asks you, what do you think? Or is this a good idea? And then conversely, when they say, I don't know how you got there, or what's that look like? Yeah. Was that what you were going to say, Melinda?
No.
Okay, go ahead and say your thing, and then we'll come back.
I was going to say that sometimes people have a negative slant, and so they may be discerners, but their perspective is that you can't do something, and sometimes discussion helps maybe the wanderers who think, well, what if we did this? Or what if we did this? Sometimes it helps an idea move forward from people who see things, but see it from a negative way.
Yeah, and that explanation actually is really helpful for the non-discerners to know, to learn for the future. Like, okay, so that's how you come up with that. I never even thought about it that way. That can be actually really helpful. So those conversations can be a really good thing. Yeah. All right. Anybody else that's willing to share? Yep.
Being a leader in the military, in charge of my subordinates, I consider myself a discerner, and I would always bounce ideas I had. I would be given orders, and then from them orders, I would develop a plan to execute that order, and I would always bounce that off my subordinates. I come up with this plan to execute this. What do you guys think about that? And sometimes they'd give me a little added information or ideas that would add to that mission, and sometimes I'd be like, no, that ain't gonna work.
Right.
So, I find that very impactful during that part of my life, that I was able to use that ability God gave me.
Yeah. Thanks.
question.
Yeah, Daryl.
Can you be
Oh.
responsive and disruptive at the same time? Like, can you be-
Yes. Yes, because now what that looks like, I don't know, because I am responsive in both of my geniuses. So I'm a WE. Those are both responsive. So the people that have, for instance, 2 disruptive. So if you are an IG, somebody like me will be really hard for you to work with, because I'm kind of, all right, whatever, So it has value in some cases, but it can be frustrating to others. So yes, you can have 2. Your 2 geniuses can be, you could be a WI, which W is responsive and I is disruptive. So there will be times where you will be able to offer that as a value in different situations. So yes, you can be both disruptive and responsive. Yep.
So I'm going to put in a shameless plug. In 2 weeks, when I take the podium again, we're going to talk about a character who is clearly discerning and galvanizing. So that's a shameless plug to come back in 2 weeks and see that.
Please do. Right, discernment is much more responsive. They're waiting to be asked. Occasionally, they will offer that as advice, but a lot of times it's in their head and they're thinking about it. Whereas the galvanizer that we're going to talk to next, did somebody have another? Yeah.
I've just been thinking about people I have worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like, to me, discernment people and galvanizing people, if a person has both of those qualities, they become leaders.
Yeah, that's probably a natural step out in front as a leadership role, because if you have discernment and galvanization, not only do you have that really good gut intuition of what's going to work, but now you're going to get people on track for it. Yeah. Yeah, Tina.
From my experience with kids at school, I think a lot of the eyes are leaders too, because they have ideas
Mm-hmm.
that they have to share them.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be heard.
Yeah.
So they're out in front talking
Yep.
to whoever will listen to their ideas.
Sure.
Which
And
oftentimes falls into a leadership role because we want to listen to them.
And what's interesting is that we're using the term leader, and it's just a little bit more visual, because this person is for sure a leader, just in a different way. They're behind the scenes a lot of times, thinking about, are we really doing the right things? And then this guy or gal here, who's just crushing it, just in the office or behind the scenes and just getting the work done. We don't think about these people as leaders, but they're leading in a much quieter way. So generally speaking, discerners. Oh yeah, Daryl.
Oh yeah, Daryl.
Sorry.
Does the author give a timeline when it's very obvious what people have in their life? As you get older, we
Does it
probably don't
change?
change much the older we get. I would assume that's right.
Right. This is not like what you would think of as personality traits that can shift and change. There is some change that can happen, but for the majority of us, these are God-given talents that are inside of us that we may have not realized our whole life. And now, for me, all of a sudden, I'm learning this for the first time, and I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense now, looking back on it. But no, there's not a lot of change. You can adapt. And obviously, this is another thing that I've talked about a couple times, but I'll reemphasize here. We can all do all of these, just not necessarily well. So we all have 2 of them that we are experts in. And not only are we experts in, but you get a lot of joy out of doing them. They're life-giving to you. They're not draining. We have 2 that we are competent in, so you're able to do them. It's not really that life-giving to you. You can do it if somebody asks you to. And then you have 2 that are very frustrating to you. So, for instance, I am terrible at tenacity, and anybody that knows me knows this, as well as galvanizing. These are my 2 working frustrations. So, as a general rule, we all tend to sort of not understand people that have our frustrations. We don't necessarily get what they're saying. We judge them. We do. We judge each other in these things, and we come to conclusions like, I can't believe he said that. Or I can't. Who does she think she is? I'll tell you who she thinks she is. She's a discerner, and we should listen to her. Or he's a galvanizer, and he's just trying to keep us on task. So my little soapbox, kindness. I think if we can do this stuff with kindness and gentleness of speech, it'll go over a lot better, especially in a church. But what we have done, as we have said, if it's not nice, we don't like it. It's scary if it's not nice. Well, that's not scriptural. So what I want us to get okay with is listen to the discerner. Listen to them. They've been trying to say that for years, that they have a bad feeling about this, and nobody's listened to them. We've just been generating ideas and ideas and ideas and ideas, skipping the discerning and going straight to, usually we skip both of these, and we go straight to enablement, okay? These are how meetings usually run. I wonder if we should do this. Well, here's an idea. Great idea. Go. And we skip D and G, and the DGs are in the back going, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. It's a terrible idea. But nobody asked me, so I'm just going to keep my hand down. I've been called mean too many times. I've been told to mind my own business and who do you think you are too many times, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. Those days are over, people. Those days are over. We are going to start giving value to the discerners and the galvanizers. Yes.
I used to tell people all the time, I used to have friends that came to me for advice all the time, and I would give them two options. It's like, okay, you're asking me for my advice. Do you want me to be brutally honest with you, or do you want me to be your friend?
I love this.
And usually most of my friends would be like, just be brutally honest with me.
Yeah.
I would tell them my opinion, and they're like, that came off a little harsh, but I was like, you asked for it. And they're like, okay, well, that makes sense. And I'm like, do you see where I'm coming from, though?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. But I think also, when you're a discerner and a wanderer, you're also an overthinker.
Oh, sure.
I think you
back
get
and forth.
You get into a thing of
Yeah.
like, okay, why am I thinking like this? And then you're like, okay, but I think it's a really bad idea. And then you kind of go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
And I think when people ask for your opinion and they ask you why, if you're a wanderer too, you're like, I get why you're asking me, but my thought process is so long and so convoluted that I'm like, do you have an hour for me to sit here
do you
and
enjoy
explain to
sharing it,
me?
though? Do you enjoy sharing that process?
If somebody asks me why, usually it's like, yeah, I can tell you why I'm coming up with this situation.
Okay.
And then it's up to you if you want to actually listen or
Right.
if you just want to go on your way.
Yes. No, we are going to start listening.
It kind of comes from an idea of, okay, and that's kind of where it goes to. It's like, all right, if you're going to ask for my advice, do you want me to be nice to you, or do you just want me to be really brutally honest with you where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
And that's just kind of where it ends up.
I love it. I am going to skip ahead a little bit. I can't tell you the skiing story, but I'll tell you that another time if you want. This discernment can be unwelcome in a church setting, but it is absolutely necessary. It is pivotal, people. It is absolutely necessary, and we are going to start giving value to these folks instead of putting them off to the side and saying, stop being mean, because they're not mean, they're right. So if you've never been told that before, I'm telling you that now. Okay, the galvanizer. The galvanizer is also disruptive. They are very good at, I'm going to kind of bust through these because we are getting short on time. So the galvanizer is disruptive. The galvanizer sees the idea that's been vetted by the discerner, and they go, I believe in that. I am going to get people rallied around this because this is the right thing. Now, they have to believe in it. They have to believe in it. So, for the galvanizer, where are my galvanizers? Raise your hand if you know you're a galvanizer. Don't be scared. Maybe you think maybe you are. Okay. They have to know this process. Well, it's helpful for them to know what questions were asked, what ideas were generated, and are they good ideas. But once you explain this to them and they pick up the baton here, they're ready to go. When they believe in something, they will go all out for it. And sometimes they'll bowl people over and say, well, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. You should be doing this instead. So they're very good at rallying, but rallying to the right thing, not just to anything. You can't necessarily give them a job and say, okay, now go, galvanize. Doesn't necessarily work like that. They kind of have to believe in it. They like to get people moving in the same direction. The laptop thing is funny. So in this podcast that I listened to, the Working Genius podcast, I would highly recommend that you listen to it. It's free if you have an iPhone. It probably is free for Android too, but I just don't speak Android, so those people are weird anyway. Oh, okay. All right. Cody is one of the guys on the podcast, and he is a galvanizer. And he says what he would do that earned him a very unflattering nickname. He won't actually say what it is on the podcast. Earned him an unflattering nickname in the office. What he would do is they'd be in a meeting, in a room, everybody's got their laptops open, and he would go around and he would go, click, and close that person's laptop and go, we're all working on this thing, and I'm pretty sure it's not on your computer. Can you imagine how people don't like that? Right? That is the essence of a galvanizer. That is in its purest form, is to go around and close the laptops. I love that analogy. So people don't like that. And, you know, we're humans, and so we generally don't like to be told that our idea is not the right idea. That we need to get back on track with the right thing. Without vision, the people perish. Without the galvanizers, we're in a lot of trouble. So this is just talking about the galvanizer may need a reminder as to why we believe in this thing, why it is the right. Set the stakes. The galvanizer can easily cause conflict, but remember, conflict is not a bad thing. Conflict is healthy. Conflict is necessary. And in churches, we don't like that. We tend to shy away from it because it's uncomfortable, and maybe it's not nice, and maybe Jesus wasn't conflictory. He wasn't. Yeah. If he wasn't a galvanizer, I don't know who was. Think about what he did to say, no, you have thought about this all wrong, and whoosh, here, by the way, here's a whip to get you back on track. So the conflict is necessary, and I want us to have the language for this. I want us to have the appreciation for each other. Don't necessarily jump to the conclusion that, oh, I can't believe can you believe what he said in that meeting, or can you believe what she said in that meeting? Well, maybe she's right. Maybe he's right that we are looking at this, we are on the wrong track, and we need to divert. It does need to be done carefully, and it needs to be, and I really like what you said, Molly, because these things need to be done intentionally. So that question that you ask as a discerner is fantastic, because to say to the group or the team or whoever you're working with, okay, I'm going to do some discerning now, and here's what that looks like. Are you sure you want this? Or the galvanizer, are you sure you want me to galvanize? Are you sure you want me to get us moving in the right direction? Yes, I do. Okay, here I go. Conversely, we don't have time. I've got 2 minutes. Conversely, we non-galvanizers need to say to the galvanizer, please galvanize us, because it's valuable and we need to be moved, right? Are there any people in here that like that like to be moved? Like, come and say, this is what you want me to do, right? I want it in black and white. Yes, I want it in black. And she's happy to tell you what to do, brother. So you know what? You guys are good to go. So when it's intentional, it works out really well. People that are not galvanizers, don't try to galvanize, because you're just going to come across wrong. If this is your frustration, if galvanization falls into your working frustrations, you're going to come across as a nag, and it's not going to work out well. So I have a galvanizer at work, and he comes to me often and says, we are doing the wrong thing. This is what we should be doing instead. Now, I, as the wonderer, I'm like, yeah, I'll think about that. Let me think about it for a while, and I'll get back to you. Drives him nuts. Because they're like, no, we have got to do it. I will die on this hill. Galvanizers, how many hills have you guys died on today? You probably already died on 2 or 3. You can't die on every hill. But the galvanizer's like, yes, I can. Watch me. I will die on every hill. So they are absolutely crushed by indifference. And just briefly, I will talk about, so these pairings are so, like, that is a whole nother, you guys would be like, I'm so sick of talking about Working Genius if I went into all the pairings because they're fantastic. Like, to me, it's amazing and I love it. But this combo, the DG combo, is, I used to think that these were both disruptive. So I thought, oh boy, if you're a DG, that's super. But this is actually a responsive genius. So these folks here that are have these two as their working genius are that, just like Tina, what you were saying, these are natural leaders. These are people that they may not necessarily be leading out front, but I promise you they are leading somewhere. Maybe you just haven't discovered them yet. But a lot of them are out front doing a lot of this anyway. And there's the pairing. So it's 10:21. I said we'd be done at 10:20, and we are. Have a great day.